In Mario Kart Double Dash, there's a driving technique known as A-Tech. You'll see top-level speedrunners do it all the time. They release the drift and accelerate buttons at the same time, then repress them again simultaneously. This technique is used to drift straight on straightaways, and it works because of momentum preservation. When you let go of the A button, you're moving fast enough from your mini turbo that by the time you repress it, you haven't lost any speed. But a few runners have taken this to the extreme, trying to complete entire tracks without using the A button whatsoever. In this video, we'll be going over how this is even possible, and how every track in Mario Kart Double Dash was beaten without pressing the A button. The first pioneer in the No A category was French player Scartax, or as I should say, No A B category. Scartax added an extra layer of difficulty to the challenge. Not only could he not press A to go forward, he also couldn't press B to reverse through the course. So how is this even possible? Well, at the beginning of a time trial, you're given 2 mushrooms that bring you up to top speed. By using a mushroom, you'll be fast enough to start charging a mini turbo. The boost from that mini turbo will be fast enough to charge the next one, and the boost from that one will let you charge another, and so on. There's little room for leniency. If you didn't charge another mini turbo in the small window after the previous one, you'd get brought to a complete halt. The same would happen if you were to get stuck on a wall or hit by an obstacle. The only way to recover from this is by using your other mushroom, and if you mess up again afterwards or fall off the track at any point, it's a guaranteed failure. Scartax started with some of the easier courses to try to complete without using the accelerate or reverse buttons. March 2019 would see his first course completion, doing so on Peach Beach. This was a logical choice. The track is almost entirely straight sections, making the only real difficult parts the 2 turns. Luigi Circuit would be his next target, and he completed it about a week after Peach Beach. He'd complete Baby Park later in April, and on May 1st would complete Dry Dry Desert, making the entire Mushroom Cup possible without pressing A or B. He would also complete Mushroom Bridge in May, followed by Mario Circuit in June, Daisy Cruiser in July, and Sherbet Land in October. But it wouldn't be until 2022 that we'd see someone else come along and try to tackle No AB press runs. You see, if you're a Smash Bros fan, you probably know Lunar Dusk as one of the best Melee players out of Canada and one of the best Ice Climbers mains in the world. But if you're a Mario Kart Double Dash player, you might know him from this. Lunar Dusk was an accomplished Mario Kart Double Dash speedrunner in his own right, but he excelled at No AB runs. Back when he was first learning A-Tech, he found an old website that mentioned something about doing Baby Park without pressing A whatsoever. This would end up planting the seed that inspired him to start attempting No AB runs. At the time he started doing attempts in 2022, there were 8 tracks that had not yet been completed without pressing A or B on video. Waluigi Stadium was reportedly completed before by player Megamia, but there was no video, making it unproven. Meanwhile, Mushroom City and Yoshi Circuit had no video, but Lunar thought that they were almost certainly possible and had been done before. Indeed, when he tried these 2 tracks, it did not take long to complete them, so that only left 5 tracks that were either extremely difficult or impossible. Coincidentally, the last 5 tracks in the game, DK Mountain and all of the Special Cup tracks. These tracks all have a few things in common: multiple obstacles, some of which are on difficult to avoid cycles, narrow sections, and tight hairpin turns, all of which were difficult to properly maneuver while not pressing A. But one of these 5 tracks didn't really fit this mold: Wario Coliseum. Wario Coliseum is one of the few tracks in the game that has no cycles whatsoever. Not only that, it doesn't have any insanely tight turns. The only real struggle with this track was that it was the 3rd longest track in the game, making it a bit of a marathon to complete. But Lunar was determined to make it happen, and began live streaming attempts, and in March of 2022, he pulled this off.
Okay, we did the thing.
However, things would get much more difficult with the next track, Dino Dino Jungle. Lunar knew that this track would be difficult, but he never anticipated how difficult it would truly be. First, the track almost immediately starts with a hairpin turn that can be extremely difficult to properly navigate without perfect mini turbo angles. It doesn't get much easier from here. There's a narrow section that leads you into a curved bridge. This requires even more precision. There's no wall to catch you, meaning if you do fail there, it's an instant run killer. There's also these geysers throughout the track that pop up. Although they aren't entirely unpredictable since they're on a cycle, if you hit one of these, it'll toss you into the air and instantly end the run. There's another narrow bridge near the end of the track, and the ending section has grass on both sides that is difficult to recover from, and some more geysers. With all of these obstacles, completing even 1 lap of this track would be impressive, but Lunar was set out to complete 3 consecutive laps. Unsurprisingly, this took him a long amount of time. He spent months doing attempts on and off. But in December 2024, he finally pulled it off.
Fucking finally, oh my god.
The next track Lunar would target would be DK Mountain. DK Mountain is basically Dino Jungle with every difficult obstacle turned up a notch. The first turn is actually not too bad, but everything after that is quite challenging. After the first turn, you're launched through a cannon that takes you to this mountain section. This mountain section is extremely difficult. Even if you were pressing A, you can still be prone to a ton of inconsistent bounces. This is only worsened in no AB runs though. A single bad bounce can completely ruin your strategy or kill your speed and end the run. Lunar did actually have a strategy for this. He decided that instead of using the barrel train, the game's best cart, and the cart he used in all of his other attempts, he'd use the toad cart, which was still pretty fast but less bouncy. After this mountain section, you're then met with 4 consecutive hairpin turns. And somehow, that's still not the hardest part. At the very end of the track, similarly to Dino Jungle, there's a narrow bridge. This bridge is not only narrower than the DDJ bridge, but it also sways back and forth. It's almost like they were trying to force you to use the A button here. There was absolutely no consistency whatsoever to this bridge, and since it came at the very end of the track, it would almost entirely decide whether or not you completed a lap. And on lap 3, it meant that even if you had done everything else perfectly to that point, your entire run would come down to this bridge. Like Dino Jungle, this grind would take Lunar Dusk a while, but after weeks and weeks of attempts, on April 29th, 2025, he pulled this off.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh my god.
So now just 2 tracks were left, Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road. While both of these tracks seemed borderline impossible, one was much more possible than the other. Bowser's Castle had a multitude of difficult obstacles. This track has cycles, a lot of them. 4 to be precise. First, there's swamps at the beginning of the course that go up and down. If you get squished by one of these, you'll be brought to a halt and be forced to use your only other mushroom. Then there's a narrow section with flying fireballs that when hit can either leave you with an extremely difficult recovery or send you off the track, either of which can again be a run killer. Then there's a firebar which you have to precisely squeeze between, and at the end of the track there's a mechanical Bowser statue that shoots fireballs down the course. And that's just the cycles you have to avoid. You also have to navigate 90 and 180 degree turns and maneuver your cart around barrierless edges. But Lunar Dusk had one trick up his sleeve, the Koopa Dasher. This cart was an absolute diamond in the rough for the no AB category. This cart's controls made it pretty bad for regular time trials, but for this specific challenge worked in its favor. It slid a lot after releasing a mini turbo, preserving the cart's speed for longer and giving more time to charge up the next mini turbo. It could also take the hairpin turns really tightly, which made the track easier to complete, but it would still be very challenging. Lunar had to strategize a bit to make any given run a higher chance of being a completion. He would intentionally wait longer than he had to at the start of the race to make the cycles easier on laps 2 and 3. A completion here would still be insanely difficult, but it would be made just a bit more possible thanks to this. And on May 4th, he got on a run. It was going very well until the final hairpin on lap 3. Lunar went out wide and had to go to a complete stop just to avoid falling off. But luckily, he had his second mushroom still.
Go! 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 It's over!
Let's go!
It's over!
Nice, nice.
Let's fucking go. That
I
was
had
sick.
to, oh my god. When I got to the Bowser statue, I had to stop. Because if I released that MT, I would have gone to the lava.
So, just one track was left incomplete. Fittingly, the game's final track, Rainbow Road. Lunar had been putting off this track for good reason. Right at the beginning was an impassable obstacle. There was a huge drop where you simply lost too much speed in the air to have enough speed to charge a mini turbo upon landing. Sure, you could use your mushroom here, but it didn't mean both of your mushrooms were gone, and you still had to complete the big drop twice. So the track was impossible, right? Well, not quite. By using the Koopa Dasher and aiming all the way to the left of the landing where the track was slightly higher, you could sometimes barely land with enough speed to charge a mini turbo. The track still had difficulties after that. There were hairpin turns with no outer wall to catch you if you went too wide, and much of the track had no barriers whatsoever, making it extremely easy to fall off. But on Lunar's first day of doing attempts, May 5th, he got this.
did it. We did it. Yep. 16 out of 16. Yep.
And that made it so that all 16 tracks in Mario Kart Double Dash could be completed without pressing the A or B button once. This challenge as a whole just shows how severely the game's mechanics can be manipulated and construed while still being able to drive through the tracks. Now, there's a speedrun category for this game called All Tracks where you consecutively complete every track in time trials. This challenge proved that, technically speaking, you could complete an All Tracks run without pressing the A or B button once. Well, you can't, because you have to press A to menu between tracks. But excluding that, it could theoretically be done. It would be insanely difficult, and it isn't helped by all of the hardest tracks being at the end of the run. But the fact that it's even possible is a testament to how broken MKD's mechanics can truly be. Thanks for watching.